Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 36. The plans for today were to start doing some work on the quantum chips, as well as the proliferation, and we will definitely do some of that later on, but there were some unforeseen circumstances that forced me to rethink my approach to the start of the video. When I started recording for the first time, 10 minutes in I got a warning about an attack on Lambda Leonis. That's right, we have a dark fog hive present in that system now. This is the perfect excuse to start delving into the space fleet side of things. Thankfully, building the ships are relatively easy, we have everything we need to make them at the mall, so we will be able to clean things up relatively fast. Before we get started, I would love it if you subscribe to the channel, and clicking the like button will let me know that this video was worth making. If you want to help me make a living off this one day, please consider becoming a channel member, where you will get an early access to the videos as I make them, and for a one-time donation, you can find a link to my Ko-fi page in the description. But enough talking, let's get into it. I still wanted to quickly finish building the last green labs, so I deleted a couple stuff from the starter base while I waited for the last of them to be crafted. After that, we are off to make those spaceships. Okay, all the remaining labs are green. We can go to the mall, so we can get rid of those unwanted visitors as soon as possible. As I've said, making the destroyers is relatively easy. They only require 4 components, some frame materials, some large engines, processors, and a little bit of strange matter, all of which are already available on the mall. Setting this one up should be relatively easy. Today, we are only attacking a brand new, low-level hive, so we don't really need to be all that careful. I doubt they even have a single defensive unit built yet, so we can do this with just a handful of crafts. And good thing we already did some upgrades for them, they already had their weapons and defenses boosted. We can do this quite easily with just 12 of them. As I've said, I highly doubt we will run into much resistance, so we don't really need to worry about reinforcements. Oh, right. Before we go, we should restock on foundations. There will be bases set up on the planets by now, so we will need to plug some holes too. Came out of warp right on top of the enemy hive. Just as I suspected, the defenses are non-existent, so we will make short work of this little incursion. And that's that. The hive is no more. Now we need to check the planets to make sure they are free from surface bases before we go back home. There is one on the deuterium planet, and I've seen a relay station making its way to the carbon nanotube world. We only need to take care of 2 it seems. Our mecha cannot really attack the relay station by itself, but we have destroyers for that. And the Leonis system is free from the dark fog once more. I'm sure they will rear their ugly heads in the future, but we are safe for the time being. By the way, can you see those red things moving around the star cluster in the map view screen? Those are hive seeds, sent out by other hives to colonize other systems. Truly getting rid of the fog will take some effort, that's for sure. Well, I think we can get started with the actual work we set out to do originally. We should start with the proliferators. The current setup is simply not fit for purpose anymore. And we can also decommission the old fusion reactors. They are definitely just wasting space at this point. This big empty area seems like a pretty good place to set up the proliferator factory. Here, I made a bit of a mistake. I forgot why the titanium was important in the other tower, so I didn't include it, and replaced it with the warpers. As we get deeper into this setup, I will remember that we need it to make the nanotubes, and put it back in. I suppose we don't really need the warpers. We have the coal and fire ice in the system, and I don't think we will need to move the sprays to other systems in this playthrough. We only really need it for the research and the antimatter fuel, all of which is only being made on Juno, so we should be okay. And if we do need to move them someday, we can just slap down a small planetary tower next to the interplanetary one, and feed the warpers through that with belts. Anyways, I went with 10 assemblers to make the proliferators. Thankfully, each level of these sprays are in a perfect 1-to-1 ratio with each other when it comes to production numbers, so we can stick to that number throughout the entire process. Now, the first level only needed raw coal to make. The next level needs diamonds. That's great, we can make those from coal, so we just need to set up some smelting to get there. This side looks like a good place to do the diamonds. It's a two-step process. First we make graphite, and then we turn that into diamonds. Should be fairly easy. And the best thing is, this is also a 1-to-1 ratio process, so we can just feed the graphite directly into the diamond smelters. And that's that. Coal turns into graphite, graphite turns into diamonds, which then go to the assemblers to upgrade the Tier 1 proliferators. Nice. Although, I wasn't 100% convinced that this many diamonds will be enough. If you remember, using 2 of these smelting pairs wasn't enough to fully take care of a single assembler making the level 2 sprays, so I thought it would be prudent to build a second column. Now the nanotubes. That's the last thing we need, and for that we will of course need to use chemical labs. But first, let's make sure we don't box ourselves in, and take care of the output of the last assemblers. As usual, we will feed the proliferators through a spray coater before piling them into the tower for delivery. That way, they will already come fully proliferated out of the box, ready to be used. My first thought was to have the chem labs on this side of the setup, But we got too close to the planetary grid fault line, so they will have to go above the smelters. This is when I realized that we really do need the titanium for this whole thing, so I replaced the warpers in the tower. Also, where do we get that titanium coming in from? It was only set for planetary deliveries, and we have the smelting on Vulcan. We must have had some old starter base towers still having titanium somewhere on Juno. We have a hive attack coming in. Oh no, whatever will we do now? Oh, right. We will just blast them out of the sky with our fancy new destroyers. And that's 10 dark fog attack crafts dealt with. Don't get me wrong. They are still deadly dangerous in high enough numbers, but in such small groups, they are easily dispatched. Okay, now we just need to feed the excess hydrogen back into the tower for disposal, and we can start copy-pasting the labs to make the tubes. Lovely. Fully proliferated proliferators ready for delivery. This setup is almost done. I have no idea if this is enough or not. Let's go with 8 pairs of labs for now, and if we need more, we can just build them later. We can now go to the end of the nanotube belt, and see if we are over or under producing it. Well, it seems we managed to land on pretty much the perfect number of labs by accident. It appears we are ever so slightly overproducing them, which is exactly what we tried to achieve. At this point, this old proliferator factory can be removed, so I set the tower to start emptying out. Now the quantum chips. That's the next big obstacle we need to get over. We are simply not making enough. And we have a hangar full of destroyers. The mall will cram 100 more of them into our inventory, and then we are full up. I suppose we could get rid of the old labs. The towers themselves will still need some time to fully flush out the cubes, but the labs can be recycled. Oh, right. This one. I did decide at the end of the last episode to keep this one around, and use it as our warper factory. We should also add some proliferation to this one. It's not much, but 25% extra warpers coming out of this place is only a good thing. Next, we need to rethink the whole belt system. Right now, all the ports on the tower are occupied, and we need to free some up if we want to make this conversion stick. And most importantly, I really need to remember to set the cubes in the tower to the storage mode. These will be reserved to make warpers only, they will not be used for research, so the tower should not be sending them out anywhere. I forgot to do it today, but I really need to do it at some point. Anyways, we can free some tower ports up by combining the delivery belts for the raw components for all labs. Here, I made another small mistake that will be fixed later on. I accidentally set the warpers to be proliferated. As it happens, those are the only items in the game that get no benefit from proliferation. But don't worry, I will discover this error as we keep working on this place, and I will remember that we need to do the cubes, not the warpers. Well, we don't really need to feed the cubes back into the tower. We can just make the belt come out the other way, and go to the assemblers that way. I suppose that does take care of the whole storage setting on the tower. I forgot that I went this way, so that whole thing about not sending out the remaining cubes from the tower is now moot. Don't worry, I will realize that warpers don't need to be sprayed sooner or later. Damn. That last assembler won't fit. That's a shame, would have been quite a nice looking compact setup otherwise. Now, that coal patch is really in a pretty bad position for this. As I've said many times, I hate wasting resources by building over them, so we will just need to start mining it, and then hide the nodes. That way, we can mine them while still having buildings over them. There. We are mining the nodes, and we can build over them. Best of both worlds. This much warper production should be enough for a very long time, but we might as well just double things up. We are here now, so why not? And I finally realized that we need to proliferate the cubes, not the warpers. That's a lot of warpers to say the least. Plenty enough to last us for the rest of the game. Now we just need to take care of the proliferation, and we are pretty much done with this place. Okay. Time to get to work on other things. We still haven't got to the quantum chips, and those need some serious intervention. Just as I suspected, the biggest bottleneck right now are the plane filters. They have a pretty long crafting time, and we are simply not making enough of them. I still didn't feel like flying all the way out to a new star system to set up a planet, so we will just plop down a tower for them on Juno. But, as you could see, these production arrays are ridiculously massive. There are 240 assemblers in a single blueprint, resulting in one of the longest columns I ever built. But hey, that's what's needed to achieve the correct production ratio for the maximum output, so that's what we are going to do. That's a big boy. Gonna take a while to build, that's for sure. You know what that means. Time to engage the time dilation machine. Well, that should be enough to make a difference in the quantum chip production. But we should go and check, just to be sure. The numbers look encouraging, but it will take some time for things to really settle into the new norm. The different materials are still propagating down the new supply lines, so let's leave it to do its thing. Here, I wanted to reset the launch timing on the rockets, so they get back in sync. It will be a fruitless endeavor in the end, but hey, it was worth a try for a bit of visual flair. I suppose we could upgrade the chip factory to be the same length as the blueprint we have in our book. Just so we can rest assured that we are squeezing as much production out of the tower as we can. We need to attach 5 more rows of assemblers to the end of the columns. That should do the trick. Damn. The launchers are in the way of the last one. Oh well, it should be fine to miss out on 4 assemblers worth of production. All this will end up moving to a dedicated planet in the future anyways. Well, there wasn't much time left on the recording to work on anything big, so I decided to do something about Miranda. We've been using that place as our old dark fog farm previously, but ultimately decided not to continue with it, since we will want to boot the fog out of the system to prevent the hive from leeching power off our sphere. We've been only mining the planet ever since, but I think we can do more with it. So here's what I had in mind. We could use it as a manufacturing center for our more basic components. Gears, magnetic coils, circuit boards, I think we can put all those on the same planet. And that planet will be Miranda. Let's start with the circuit boards. And we will go big right away. I want to start making a massive amount of these things right away, so we won't need to revisit it for a while. Seven towers seem like a good start. You might be wondering why I need to change the storage amounts on the towers. Well, that's because I made the blueprints while not all of the storage upgrades were researched yet. The last couple technologies in the logistics capacity branch will also upgrade the storage on the towers, and since the blueprints were made with the old settings, that's what they are placed with. I will likely spend some time updating them at some point, but for now we will just manually reset them if necessary. Very nice. We have 7 brand new manufacturing towers for circuit boards. And while I was over the time limit at this point, I decided to push on a little longer, and do the same for the magnetic coils. There is a bit of a shortage on the copper. We only managed to fill up some of the towers. I mean, it's not really a shortage per se, it's just that we introduced a massive demand for them all at once. The overall production should still be pretty much fine once the smelters manage to catch up. Anyways, let me quickly place down the magnetic coil towers, and then we can end the episode. I will not make you sit through the construction of this place. I stopped the recording here, but I kept the game running until it was all done, so we will pick things back up with all the assemblers and belts ready to go. We will need to deal with the towers and a couple inserters, but that's all there is left to do. As for what to expect later, well, this clip of the sphere has a hint. I'm sure people will spot it immediately, but I don't want to spoil it. On the factory side of things, I really need to get to work on moving things to other planets. I've been sitting comfortably on Juno for a while now, and we really need to get out of that cycle. We have a whole star cluster we can work with, and I would like to see my logistics network spread out among the stars a lot more. As for Miranda, we will place the gears there, and maybe the basic electric engines too. I only want to build 4 factories on that planet, and no more. Everything else will have their own planets. Anyways, if you haven't done it already, I would love it if you subscribe to the channel. And clicking the like button will also help letting me know that the video was worth making. If you would like to help me make a living off this one day, please consider becoming a channel member, where you will get an early access to the videos as I make them. And if you want to give a one-time donation, you can find a link to my Ko-fi page in the description. Thank you for your support, and I will see you in the next one.